Hello guys, how you doing? Dan back again for another quick video. Having a cup of coffee today out of my little mug that my girlfriend bought me. Don't know whether you can see that. It's a Pac-Man mug. The cool thing about it is, when it gets warm, the ghosts in the maze light up. So there you go. And that coffee is very hot now. Right then, today's video is going to be about something I don't usually do that often actually. Never covered it before. It's going to be about a Nintendo games console. Now, if you watch my channel regularly, you'll know that I'm a bit more interested in 8 and 16-bit computers than I am consoles. But there was one console that really did capture my imagination quite a lot when I was a kid and kind of going into my teens. And that is the Nintendo 64. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar with it. The reason I think this excited me so much when I was young is for the amount of hype that it got. You remember, if you're around back in the mid-90s, before the PlayStation 1 came out, this was really the machine that everyone was anticipating, and it got delay after delay. I remember watching TV shows like Games Master and Bad Influence that would cover the Nintendo 64 for a good year or 18 months before it came out. Back then it was called like Project Reality, the Ultra 64, and it kind of whipped all the kids around at the time into a real frenzy. I remember everyone at school being like, it's going to be better than arcade graphics, it's going to change the world when it comes out. As history tells us, the PlayStation 1 did kind of kick its ass in terms of sales, but it has got some loyal fans, and I consider myself one of them actually. It's probably the only Nintendo console that I've got a lot of affection for. Now, there is a problem though. If you're a fan of the Nintendo 64 or other cartridge-based systems of the era, I'm also quite a big Mega Drive fan, which is a Genesis for people in America. Maybe you collect for the Super Nintendo, Super Famicom. There is a problem with them though, insofar as, unlike other systems like the Sega Dreamcast, you can't just download things off the internet and plonk them onto it. You've got to search around on eBay for cartridges or second-hand stores. And if you're looking for some of the rarer games, they can still fetch a fair bit of money. I think recently, Nintendo collecting's become a bit more of a money-making thing. I've seen some, rare cartridges on eBay go for anywhere from £50 to £100 over here in Britain. So if you're like me and you're not really a collector insofar as, you have all your games on a shelf, you just want to sit down and play the games, there is an easier solution than hunting around flea markets for old games. And that's by getting hold of an Everdrive cartridge. Now, if you're not familiar with these, they're actually manufactured for pretty much any cartridge-based system that was popular. You can get them for the Super Nintendo, the Mega Drive Master System, and the one I've got here for the Nintendo 64. Now, they come in a few different variations. What I've got here is it's one that's actually been put inside a used bit of plastic from a cartridge. And what it essentially does is it lets you use SD cards to launch games on your cartridge-based system by enabling you to put SD cards in the top of the Everdrive cartridge. So you slot this in, you download a bit of software that's got the operating system and the bootloader on, then you use your controller basically to launch ROMs that you download for emulation. So I'll bring you a bit closer, we'll have a look at the cartridge I bought, and I'll talk you through downloading games and putting them onto your Nintendo 64. Right then, here it is, my lovely Nintendo 64. Actually notice my camera's face recognition, the little square that pops up, keeps popping up over the joystick ports there. Doesn't look like a face to me, but anyway, there you go. So there's my N64, and here is my Everdrive 64 cartridge. Now, I thought I'd give you a little bit of a closer look at it. It does actually come in a few different variations depending on which retailer you buy it from. You can get them either as complete assembled cartridges like the one I've got with the manufacturer I bought it from. Puts quite a nice professionally printed label on. That looks pretty good actually, very professionally done. You can also get them as a bare circuit board, and what you need to do then is get an old N64 game that you don't want anymore, remove the screws and then change the circuit board out inside. And kind of modify it as well to accommodate the SD card. So I actually found it a lot easier to just kind of get one that's already pre-made. Although you can probably save about £20 on getting one that's just a bare circuit board. You could technically just plug a bare circuit board into the top here and not have it in a case at all, but if you're going to do it properly, I say. So yeah, this one's actually been done really well. So it's a standard cartridge inside a casing. Then all you do is you take your SD card and then you pop that into the top. Although this one actually hasn't got any guides inside, so it is possible to drop the SD card completely inside the casing. Then you've got to take it apart. So you've got to be careful with mine. You've got to find out where the connector is inside. So, no, missed it there. There we go, we're in. So yeah, that is a little bit fiddly. Then you just pop it into the top of your N64, turn the power on, and then you get a bootloader. So I'll show you the website and how you download the software and get the ROMs onto it. Right, so if you do a quick search in Google for Everdrive 64, the first result that you'll probably come across is a website called Crix.com. Now, this is kind of the official support forum, and going into it, you'll come on this landing page here that will give you a bit of technical information about the Everdrive 64. Now, they do mention it's a backup device, as, of course, legally, you're meant to actually own the original cartridge before being able to use anything you may download off the internet. A little disclaimer there. Support for 99% of all known N64 games. I think to date there is only 2 cartridges that are known not to work with the Everdrive 64. It works with SD and SDHC cards, which is useful, as pretty much all of them that you buy these days tend to be SDHC. You can format them as FAT16 and FAT32 as well. It also gives you some nice transfer speeds as well. I actually notice that games do load a little bit faster than they tend to in the original cartridges. And something else very cool about it, it supports emulation as well. Now, if you download an emulator such as Neon 64, drop that onto your Everdrive, you can then natively play Nintendo Entertainment System games on your N64. It will automatically sense that they are NES games and it will load them. So I think it can also play Game Boy games as well with another emulation file. So it is really a very flexible device. Now, if you were to buy it in its raw circuit board form, this is what it looks like. And if you check out, let's have a look at the purchase link here. Yeah, it gives you a few websites that you can buy them from, like Retro Towers is one in the UK. I know that Stone Age Gamer tends to be a popular one that's talked about on the forums. I guess they've actually moved it around a bit. Let's have a quick look here. Here we go. And they do ship it in a variety of packages, either the main circuit board, or you can get it in this really nice kind of pre-done Everdrive package. Now, it's not cheap, $174, and they're out of stock at the moment, it seems, but I mean, there are a variety of manufacturers that will sell it in this kind of configuration with, you know, a nicely done manual in the box and everything, and an SD card included, so, you know, it does look the business actually like a really professional product. So the thing that you're going to want to look at on the website anyway is the download section. Now in here, you'll get some tools that you download. Like here, you've got the emulators. If you wanted to do the NES emulation, you download this file, so we'll have that. Save link as. Put that on my desktop quickly. And then the operating system, which is used to load your N64 ROMs. So you want the latest version, 129. Click that, download it. Save that to the desktop as well. And then if I open the SD card up, let's make the window a little bit smaller. What you need to do then is open the SD card and create a folder in there called ED64. Now in here, you drop those files that you downloaded. So you got the OS64, version 64, and then the mu.nes file. So we'll have both of them in there. And that is pretty much it. Then you use the main area of the disk to download N64 files. Now you'll probably have your own ways of downloading these. They are all over the internet. You can even download torrents, or just search for N64 ROMs. I'm sure you'll come across a few of them. So now we've got this all set up. Download a few ROMs onto there, and then you can put the SD card back in your Everdrive 64, and we'll see how it works. Okay, so I've got my N64 all set up now with the Everdrive inserted and an SD card in the top of that. Now usually I hook my N64 up to a CRT TV just because the quality for these older systems is a lot better. I've got a video on that if you want to see it, but for the purposes of this video I thought we'd do it on a flat screen as it's a bit easier to capture on camera. So everything's all hooked up now, we power it on and we should hopefully see the bootloader come on with all of my downloaded ROMs. So there we go, we get a message initializing OS. And there is a list of the ROMs that I've got on this cartridge. Now, there's not many on here, I've only downloaded a few. But then you literally use the controller to go up and down on the ROMs that you've downloaded. And if you press the Z button on the bottom there, over any of them, you can get a bit more information. You could set that as a favourite. You can find some options out about it. Change your TV mode between PAL, NTSC or automatic. The font size if you want it to be a bit easier to read. So I could do that for the purposes of the video. If we come out of that, there you go. You can see the ROM's a bit clearer now. And as I mentioned before, the compatibility, you know, the manufacturers claim that 99% of games will work fine. The only thing you sometimes see, and apparently this is dependent on the actual console itself, nothing to do with the Everdrive, but sometimes if you're running games from a different region, for example, a NTSC game on a PAL machine, you may get some ghosting, or you may even get a monochrome picture. Now apparently that's completely down to the revision of N64 you've got, not to do with this cartridge. Luckily, I mean, it might appear to be okay, but I generally do make sure that I download European versions of the ROMs, which are usually available. There's, you know, I haven't found many NTSC or, you know, exclusive games from America, for example, that I want to play. But as you can see, a lot of my downloads have got E next to them, so I generally look for the European versions of the ROMs when I download them. So selecting something from here is pretty simple. You literally go up and down the list. If I wanted to play, for example, let's have a look on here. We've got Air Border. So we just go on there. We'll just literally press start on your controller. And then that will copy that into RAM. And the game will load up. And this is not emulation, you know, because I'm not a big fan of emulation. I really avoid using it if possible. I like using the real hardware, using the proper controller, and, you know, getting this experience of what it's like to actually play without any glitches or anything. So literally it's loading the game from the SD card into RAM, and then you can play it as if it was a normal cartridge. So you know, there's no latency or anything like that. It is just the same as using a normal game that you would get on a cartridge, really. So I don't think I've ever actually played this one before, so I'm probably going to be awful at this, but...
Okay, everyone, now it's showtime.
Okay, let's see what we do here.
Ready, go.
Yeah, so as you can see, I mean, you know, there's no glitches or anything. It's literally just as if you got the cartridge inserted into your N64. So, I'm a big fan of this. I know there are a lot of purists out there that will be like, you know, or using SD cards is not the same as using the original cartridges. But as I mentioned before, unless you're a hardcore collector, I know there are a lot of guys out there who'll have the cartridges, you know, displayed on their shelves and everything. For someone like me who just wants to play the games on the proper hardware, this works great for me. Now, I've got an 8GB SD card inserted in there, which, you know, I think is probably enough for the games that I want to play. You might not fit the entire N64 collection on there, but, you know, for me it works well enough. And you can also save games as well. Even flash RAM games will actually save to this cartridge, so, you know, a lot of the older N64 carts now, the batteries are running low on them. This is a good solution. You can have, you know, lots of saved games on here. And we'll try out some NES compatibility. You know, a moment ago we downloaded that NES emulator, didn't we, and dropped that in. So we'll just try this. Super Mario Bros. 3. You should just press on it and it should load up. There we go. This takes me back. Let's go there. Now, see, this one looks like it's got a few compatibility issues. It's you can see it's kind of ghosted out down there, isn't it? So, you know, there is the odd thing depending on your machine. Obviously, I'm playing a NES game here, so it's really just experimenting with different ROMs. I presume I've got an NTSC ROM of Super Mario Bros. 3 here, so yeah, it's really just down to experimenting. If I get the European ROMs, everything tends to work really well. And I mean, I know the price of it isn't cheap. I got mine for £80. And if you buy them, you know, pre-made from some companies brand new, they can be a bit more. But then I think about it, for pretty much every N64 game that I'd want to play, 80 quid is quite a bargain. So I'll put a few links in my description. This has been a look at the Everdrive 64. Hope you enjoyed it. Follow me on Google Plus and Twitter. Links are below. And there's also some information on my new website as well that I'll be talking more about in a future video. Thanks for watching.